We responded to a request from the executive director and the board of directors to solve a problem. And the problem is that among the constituency, among the members of the NFED, a very substantial majority of them do not have anything other than a descriptive label or diagnosis. And the question that has always bothered the Scientific Advisory Council and the board is why? Why do these conditions that we broadly described as ectodermal dysplasia occur? All of these conditions, we believe, are genetic. They're caused by an altered gene or genes. There are more than 160 different forms of ectodermal dysplasia which have been described by clinicians, but only a relative minority of them have a specific genetic explanation to know which gene is involved and what aberration or abnormality or variation in that gene led to the changes in the tissues that affect infants, children, adolescents, and adults. So we at Baylor College of Medicine and the research center that I work with, called the Center for Mendelian Genomics, and that's a big mouthful, are funded for gene discovery. And it seemed like a perfect partnership to come back to the Scientific Advisory Council and the board and say, we have the facility, we have funding from the National Institutes of Health to answer the question, why? And so we're inviting families who have no diagnosis, folks who have been tested in the past where the genetic testing did not yield a result or an answer, families, whether it's a single offspring or multiple generations that have ectodermal dysplasias, to join us in this effort, ultimately to answer the question, why? The real motivation, of course, is the gene is an instruction manual. And if that instruction manual is not read out correctly, the product at the end of the assembly line doesn't come out normal. You can't fix a broken piece of machinery without the blueprint. So we want to find the gene, or in some cases genes, that are responsible for the different forms of ectodermal dysplasia which do not yet have an explanation. And then that will lead other investigators and other researchers to understand the pathway in which that gene works, the assembly line in which multiple genes work together to form a normal tissue or organ, and thereby ultimately find a way to better modify, adapt, correct, and I hasten to use the word cure, the problem. Without that instruction manual, there is no option.
So what is the first step today for a family who's going to be meeting with you at the conference? What are the procedures? What is your process? What is your method?
What we hope to do is to introduce people, families, to the goal of identifying the gene for them, the information we will need, not necessarily here, but by correspondence and email, is to get a 3-generation family history, grandparents, parents, and children, find out who is affected with an ectodermal dysplasia and who is not, look at that family tree, and then decide from whom would we like a blood sample, because blood is the easiest tissue to obtain. Yes, occasionally for infants it's not a happy process, but it's the easiest thing for us to work with white blood cells from a blood sample. We can provide the family tree fill-in-the-blank pedigree form. We will ask parents and young adults for permission to photograph them, because after the third or fourth one, I'm going to forget who's who, and I would nice to have pictures to remind me who's who and what their features are. And then we will provide them release of medical records forms to accumulate from their pediatricians, internists, geneticists, genetic counselors, and other physicians who've cared for the various features of the condition enough to assemble the physical jigsaw puzzle of what they have. And then ultimately, but not here at the conference, we will provide them blood tubes, packaging material, and this is a research program, so everyone will have to sign a formal consent that they are willing to participate and donate the blood sample. And then we will counsel them on the results. Results will depend on what we find. If we don't find it with current technology, we will continue to work. Many people have been tested before in various ways, but sometimes those tests yielded no result. That could be for two reasons. One, wrong panel, wrong diagnosis. You can't test for something you don't know. Or no gene is yet known for their condition. That's our responsibility, to identify aberrations or variations in genes that could potentially be damaging, that might help explain the whole picture. Now, this is a research program. It may take a year or more to get an answer for any one individual family. On the other hand, as the man says, the answer to any question you don't ask is always no. So again, we're back to why. And this is an introduction. This is a hope to enroll and recruit people who are willing to go through those steps and provide us the information, so ultimately we can provide them more concrete information than they've had before.
For families who are not at the conference but are interested in your research, what can they do to sign up and volunteer to be a part of your project?
Hopefully we will place my telephone number and my email address, and they will be able to contact me directly when I'm in the office. I don't have an administrative assistant, but there is a Darth Vader voicemail on my telephone, and then I'll come back to them, and as long as they provide me a phone number or an email, I can correspond with them, provide them the same information, forms and so forth, that we're giving to the families here. The critical determinant, however, is they must be a member of the NFED, because this project is devoted to families who are members of the NFED for whom there is no diagnosis yet.
And what is your goal in terms of the number of families that you would like to participate in the study?
With the current agreement and funding from the National Foundation of Ectodermal Dysplasias, we are challenged to find 50 families in the next calendar year, well, the next 12 months, starting July of this year through July of next year. We already have at least 9 families who have conceptually volunteered. We don't have blood samples from them yet. That's always the final step. But we want 50 families at a minimum. And this is a demonstration project. This is partly to prove that my colleagues, Dr. Jim Lupsky, Dr. Jennifer Posey, who are the 2 geneticists involved with us at Baylor College of Medicine, can do the work and get some yield. And part of it is a demonstration to the NFED that a project like this can achieve results for families that don't have a result at the present time.
You answered all of my follow-up questions within the answers to those. So is there anything else about the project that you think is important to share that I haven't asked at this time?
I think there's no substitute for humans volunteering. Most people who have belonged to this organization have volunteered to join it. I've been blessed to be a part of the Scientific Advisory Council for more than 20 years. And when this question arose last fall during a joint meeting of the Scientific Advisory Council and the Board of Directors, I looked at 2 of my colleagues who are also from Baylor College of Medicine and Texas Children's Hospital and said, basically, we can do this. And then we formatted an application to the foundation, which was reviewed by the Scientific Advisory Council and then approved by the Board of Directors. And so we're very blessed that they believe, A, they can achieve the 50 family membership that will participate, and B, that we can do the work that we propose to do. But it only counts if we have enough families to actually join and volunteer and participate.